Cancer, hi there. It's Erin Scott here with the Alchemy of Holism. We're tapping in with another art-channeled scope to pull through images, symbols, messages, numbers, colors, to see what is your natural evolutionary growth arc. We're talking nature here. This is just the natural growth of who you are as an identity, okay? It's a beautiful kind of rainy day. It was raining earlier outside. The rain has stopped, but it's beautifully overcast and cozy. Let's see if I can get myself a little organized here. So I have my paper, I have my gouache paint, and this is for the new moon cycle. So I always do these with the new moon cycle. I'm recording these a day late because we had contractors here yesterday. And yeah, this is for the Gemini new moon cycle, which is juicy and rich. I went into a lot of that in the Gemini scope, so you can watch the Gemini scope, but I'll talk about it here too. In the meantime, though, I am going to get started on your channeling. Let's just identify you here. Oops. Okay, Cancer. So it's an intense time. It's a very, very rich, dynamic time of mental activity, not just because of the Gemini new moon, but certainly that's the case now with the sun moon conjunct at 2244 Gemini yesterday, the 13th of June. But in addition to that, there's a lot of other energy that's kind of pushing a recalibration of our paradigm, of our worldview, of our idea of life, of our idea of ourselves. There's a clearing of cobwebs still with this Jupiter through Scorpio, but there's a clarity activation taking place. It's pushing. And for some people, they don't want to see themselves clearly. Thus, the suicides in the news. So there are folks, there's different reasons for suicide, and I'm not going to go deep into it in this video. And it's not to dismiss it, because it's a big topic, and it will become an ever kind of exponentially growing topic as the months and years progress, as you might have heard me talk about before. A lot of people are not going to want to be here anymore. It's going to be a lot of folks opting out. Now, their soul knows what it's doing. I ended up posting this on Facebook. Their soul knows what it's doing. So it's good to honor what people are choosing to do. For you, it's good to honor the narratives that are playing out for you so that you can learn from them. It's all about growth and evolution. What we're tapping in here is a natural arc of your growth on a generalized way. There's specific themes that are tied to your soul print, okay, to your soul's blueprint, your astrological natal chart, which is key. You have to understand what that is and what that says to really participate in your growth. So Cancer, let's kind of tap in here. Let's tap in here. And again, this is mid-June to mid-July. Kind of a main kind of theme that's catalyzing your growth, okay? So Cancer, I'm going to be a little bit quiet for a minute because I'm going to just tap in and we're going to talk about the symbology. And then I'm going to pull one of my cards from my Siri deck to kind of evoke an additional kind of message to help your growth evolution this month. really do hope that you're all well. It really has been a very, very intense time. And this summer and the fall will continue to be. So it's important to honor your time, your space, your boundaries. Importantly, critically, it's very important to develop, if you don't have one already, to either exacerbate an existing spiritual daily ritual or develop one. Critical, foundational. You have to do it because it's about staying grounded within the self. I'm getting a lot of chills, so maybe a lot of you really want to hear that. I didn't say this in the Gemini scope that I just streamed. So for a lot of you out there who are not currently meditating, meditate. Learn about it. Take a class. There's lots of free videos online. For those of you interested in learning your TM, your Transcendental Meditation Mantra, I can help guide you. It's online now. You can find them online. So I can help you with that. Or you can just search for it. You can find it yourself. But I highly recommend, cannot recommend it high enough, actually. It's critical that you keep yourself grounded and stable in your own source wisdom, because life as we know it is shifting. Our material reality, people, relationships, home, place, context, earth, weather, politics, health, everything is changing. And so to stay grounded, we must connect with source, because that's your grounding. Your grounding cord is your source, is your connection to source. Okay? So please heed what I'm saying. It is very important, especially now, especially this summer, especially for the next few years. It's like you got to do it. You got to do it. And if you say you don't have time, then you're making that choice to not do it. It's a matter of making the choice. You create the time you need. You create it, because you have to be the biggest priority for your own growth, for your own life, you know. This one might be a little bit hard for you to see, Cancer. I'll explain what it is in a second. So Cancer, I'm going to stop there. We'll come back to it though if there's more that wants to come out, okay? Actually, there is something that wants to come through, but I don't know. This might still be wet. This is going to be hard to see or recognize. I'll explain what it is, though. This is not coming out the way it needs to be, but that's all right. Okay, so there's a couple things here. First of all, this is there's some beautiful imagery and colors here. So what we're looking at is both symbology, color. We're looking at the space of things, the spatial relationships of things as well. Obviously, what the symbols are. So let's talk about what came through first, because the layering of how it comes through also has a message. The green definitely wanted to come. Now, green represents growth. It represents learning, too. There's an openness, there's a growth, and there's a learning. There's new learning information coming through. in and out. But there's a grounding also with grass. So there's like this kind of foundation of new growth. Foundation of new growth. Now, for some of you, I know for a fact that some of you have moved to a new location, right? For others of you, this could be just a new foundation, either a new job, new work, new context for your day-to-day work, a new relationship dynamic, like maybe not just a new partner, but a new family dynamic, or it could be a new foundation of even like a social network that feels like a family. But it does feel like place and location for a lot of you. So there might be, you're feeling more grounded and more held in the new growth on your foundational reality, like place, home, location, where you might be feeling the effects of, I've landed. And not just that, but there's kind of, now for me, this is kind of interesting, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but you can see that it's as if there's like new growth, right? This one has like almost a dangling flower. It's a blue flower. It's indigo blue, which kind of represents this third eye. So there's some sort of new seeing, okay, that's activated for quite a few of you. That new seeing is, and I'm getting a lot of chills right now. So it's like there's new growth. What's drooping down, it's almost like a heavy flower. It's almost like the heaviness of new seeing. You might have new clarity on things that's creating actually a bit of a weight emotionally, or, you know, you sense a bit of weightiness that's drooping you down. It could even be a bit of depression. So even the indigo, even though it's third eye, could be a bit of heavy emotional reality, some depression perhaps. But even within that, Cancer, there's a seed that's been emitted from this bloom. And that spiritually oriented, clear-seeing third eye bloom is seeding a new reality into this new reality that you're living in, this new place, this new context, even a new paradigm of your, it's like you could be perceiving where you live in a new way, in a beneficial way, in a happier way, you know. See that this seed has now developed roots. So in this month ahead, mid-June to mid-July, Gemini new moon cycle, that was essentially conjunct Mercury, by the way, in Cancer, which is all about reminding. It's about a new mind, and it's about connecting to the thoughts and the focus around, I want to be nurtured. I want to be nurtured. I want to be cared for. All of us are going through that. We want proper nourishment from the Cancer archetype, which represents mother, which represents, it's ruled by the moon. We want to be held by mother, whether it's Mother Earth, our own mother, or the mothering figures in our lives, right? So we all want that. But for you, you are the Cancer archetype. And so for the Cancer archetype, there is new spiritual rooting in new spiritual clarity. And it has to do with your foundation. So perhaps you're seeing your reality in new spiritual eyes. Wouldn't that be lovely? So beautiful. Now, one thing that I want to say is that if you notice this growth here, right, this plant, which seemingly comes out of this ground, it's not grounded, meaning it's not connected. Do you see that there's a space here? Very specifically, right? So it's like floating. So there's like growth up here, and there's growth up here, and this has the bloom, and there's new spiritual knowing, but yet it's not anchored. It's not connected. So there's something here that's a little bit of a disconnect. It's almost like there's a spiritual new growth into maybe a reperceiving of your reality, but it's almost like you still have a disconnect from the actual growth or the actual acknowledgement of your own growth that you've made in your life, that you've made to the age that you are at, that you've made in your evolutionary process as an individual. It's almost like you're not connecting the dots when it comes to you. You're having some new visualization happening, some new perceiving mechanism happening. Brilliant, by the way. If that's the truth, brilliant. But there's a disconnect. Now, let's go up here. Again, we have this contradiction that's playing out. The sun came through up here with this bright yellow, right? Bright yellow. We have this big, fat, sunny orb. This is talking about optimism, and it's talking about seeing clearly, because it's in the midday. You know, it's like this is the bright sun illuminating everything you're able to see, right? And ultimately what came out here was an owl face. Now it's a little bit hard to see, but this is the beak, eyes, and then like the great horned owl, the little ears up here, the little tufts of feathers. So owl came through on the sun. Now, owl is a nocturnal animal. Owl sees clearly. Owl is wise. Owl is quiet and goes within. It's like, it's the archetypal wisdom keeper. You know, it knows all and it keeps quiet and still and it operates at night. It's able to see clearly in the dark. But this is on the sun. So your wisdom is actually starting to see clearly. It's starting to enable clear seeing, Cancer. Do you hear what I'm saying here? This is huge. This is huge because you are able to more spiritually see things clearer. There's more of a psychic ability manifesting within the Cancer archetype. But the paradox comes into play where there's a bit of this brown, solid, earthy cover or dampening effect. Not only is it over the top of the emanating sun, but it's underlining it. So just like the plant here is not connected to the earth, the joyous or clear seeing that you're actually having, you don't quite recognize it. You're not recognizing it. You're blocking it somehow. There's something about, and by the way, brown cover, brown underline, brown house in the distance. Now, for some of you, this is going to talk about either a place that you left or a place that you want to go to, okay? But there's some place far away. And by the way, it could even be an engagement with somebody that's far away. But there's somebody or a place, there's a story for you far away that is creating depression, that's creating a containment of your own wisdom. It's blocking your own recognition of you as owl, you as the clear seer, you as the spiritual enlightened one. You are this is this, brown and brown. It's linked. So there's something for a lot of you far away that's creating a mask of your own wisdom. It's like you're not connecting it. That's the plant here. It's not connected to the ground. You know? In other words, you're projecting the growth. It's almost like you're not connecting, you're not rooting it. It's like, I am wise and I am going to actually manifest that maturity, you know? Very big, Cancer. I think that's huge. The contradiction here is beautiful and it's important for you to see it. So if this resonates for you, drink it in and start the alignment process. It's important for you to honor what is. If there's something either in your past or if there's a hope or dream in the future that you are somehow depressed around, or it feels like a weight, you know, soil is like earthly reality. It's like the mundane, it's the matrix that you're making real. So there's some imagining of a story far away that you're making heavy. You're making it mean something, and it doesn't have to. You can free yourself from that. By the way, for those, I advertised it much earlier in the Gemini reading, but for those of you interested in learning about my holosynthesis work, which combines evolutionary astrology, this is an art channeling that I also do, but it's not my main work. Evolutionary astrology, natural systems, and Byron Katie's The Work, okay? So this is about getting clean and clear. The channeling is about connecting to our natural psychic self because we all are source. We all are channels. We all are creative folks, right? So there's nothing special about anybody out there that you don't own. You hold it. You hold it. You can embody it if you choose it. I'm going to take a card. This is my Siri deck, my beautiful 144 card deck. And we're going to pull a main kind of message or guidance, you know, for your growth for the month ahead to help support you. For those that want to understand more about my work, you can go to the alchemyofholism.com. There also is a new website that's emerging, hopefully in a month or two. So I'll announce that shortly. Yeah, and for those interested in games with me, you can go to the Patreon link below this video and join as a member. Okay. So for Cancer, for the growth for this month, mid-June to mid-July. Do you see what that says, Cancer? It's discernment. This particular image is of how many pots? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 4 big cauldrons on a fire in the forest, you know, that's being distilled down. There's stuff that's being cooked down and distilled out in nature. I will tell you, Gemini also got the nature card, which is about connecting there. This obviously shows the discernment happening with regards to or in context of nature as well. Discernment is about wisdom of the mind, discerning what is true and what is myth. What is the story that I spin in my mind again and again that's based on an unconscious wounding? Wake up. It's time. It's time. It's time. Too many people are so severely asleep. Severely asleep. 2018. 2018, for God's sake, people. Come on. It's time. It's time. Discernment, Cancer. It's time for you to connect the growth and link it to your own wisdom, to your own embodied knowing. Because there's something here that it's almost like it's separating. It's an internal separation of your wisdom and your body. So it's about embodying your knowing, your wisdom. Discernment is also about seeing clearly what is so, what is true. Here, there's some myth. There's a story that you're holding. There's a story that you're creating of meaning about a place, a house, a location, a narrative, a family, something far away from you. And it is creating a lack of clarity around your own clarity and your own wisdom. Discernment, that's the key. Big month for you. Dive in. This whole summer and this whole fall will be rich with activations that will test us. It will test each and every one of us. And so get in nature. Develop a daily spiritual ritual, meditate, get honest with yourself, get honest with your mind, with what it says is true versus what is true. Okay? For those of you interested, you can be in touch. It's time to get clean and clear. Mental clearness. Too many people are just mindlessly operating by default wound. It's like they're just automatons, just running through wound without any clarity. It's absurd. It's insane. There's an insanity to it because it's a choice to not own thought, mind, story, past, my stuff, right? Important, important. I'm sending you much love, okay? Talk to you soon.